Hi everyone, this is Brandy with Exploring Expression, and we are on another interview with someone interesting, and this is going to be great. I'm going to tell you already, you're going to love this. We are here with Kristofer Lamey, and you are an artist or a designer, or what exactly are you?
I straddle the line. I'm an industrial designer and an artist, and I work professionally as both. My work is controversial in that sense that if I show in an art setting, people think it's design. If I show in a design setting, people kind of think it's art. But really they just get confused because when I'm creating art, which is an expression of emotion, I design as I see. So as I see, I do whatever it takes to make my vision tangible. And in that process, I'm using laser cutters, I'm using water jets, I'm using 3D printers, I'm using the latest of technology, and that's where people get confused. It's like, it's so well engineered, it's so engineered that they confuse it, which, regardless, I love being a little controversial about it.
That doesn't hurt to be a little of everything.
Well, yeah, well, I'm being myself.
So, tell me a little bit about what led you to this.
Photography. Over 20 years ago. I've always had a passion for photography. And, it was, every time I took a photo, it was giving me, it satiated an urge. It really satiated a primal need, that moment in time captured. And then it kind of changed when I met this famous photographer. At the time, it was my girlfriend's mother. My girlfriend's mother had a modeling agency and had this guy come over from Europe. Big time photographer. I was nervous to meet him. And she told me, "Sweetie, I paid so much money to get this guy over here. You better go in the kitchen and get some advice from him." I was like, "I don't know what to say." So I said, in a very nervous, like teenage fashion, "Excuse me, sir, how could you what kind of advice could you give someone like me who's just starting out?" And then he said something that just changed everything. It brought me to here.
Okay.
He said, think of this. You're never taking a photograph of an object. You're always taking a photograph of light on an object. And then when I saw it from that perspective, I realized that everything in my reality is light-based. So photography kept going, and it still goes today. I love taking pictures, but
when I started, a lot of what you do is with light.
Exactly. When I started making things, I considered light as a medium. And as you'll see in some of the demonstration, a lot of the work that I've produced, light is an actual medium in the work. So
did you start as a professional photographer, or what?
No, I would never consider myself a professional photographer. Everything I've always done, I've never considered myself a professional at anything. I just kind of followed like my heart with a plan, and sooner or later, people started calling me the professional. I've never called myself an artist, I've never called myself, until very recently, when just the world travel that we've been doing, and the art we've been hunting down, it's...
Okay, what do you mean by that, art we've been hunting down?
Well, when I look at portfolios, oftentimes people want me to see their portfolio. You can tell when a portfolio's, I'll just say, for the lack of a better term, academic. Maybe they came out of college and here's my portfolio, but everything in the portfolio has been kind of guided by maybe not 100% them, maybe a project or maybe a perspective that a professor would like them to explore. And then what you have is a portfolio, an ensemble of work that has no family resemblance. But when an artist is after something, when an artist is expressing themselves by basically a need base, the work begins to have like a family resemblance. Work starts to resemble one another, and in a sense it becomes generative. One piece leads to another, and it becomes what's coined as an anxious object, because they're getting closer. Look, I got to make this thing like. It's like, what do you? I thought we were gonna do. I got to make this. I got to make this, and then one thing leads to another, and then you start seeing work. When I say hunting work, I like to find work that has that family resemblance between the body, and then it gets exciting. You get to talk to the artist, and you get to see that, you get to feel it.
feel that excitement and passion.
Well, the excitement and the passion, and you just see something just so unbridled, so genuine. Like, man, that's real art. They need to do that. They're after something. So, and it's not just a hobby, but it's a good professional network who's an artist and designer.
Right.
That's what I'm doing too. But
Well, and we're gonna look at a few pieces here in a second, but I noticed even with the things that now in case we'll see in a minute, but he designed this thing for aircraft, which was simply stunning. And when I first came in here, I thought it was a piece of art. I didn't realize.
yeah, well,
That's what that was.
when people see that, they don't know what it is at first. It is intriguing, and I designed it to do that.
But once you explained it, it's like, oh, that's what it's for.
That piece I had in 2010, I had a solo exhibit at the Museum of Design here in Atlanta, Moda. And a gentleman walked in, he saw a demonstration of my work, and he just said, "Do you ever work in aviation? Have you ever thought about it?" And one thing led to another. He wanted me to come up with a concept. And there's always a bit of showmanship in everything that you pitch and everything that you do.
That's true.
So that is my bass lure. It's sparkly. Engineers, there's enough engineering in it for an engineer to say, "Wait a second, what's going on here? This is just not a piece of art," So, yeah, it's designed to catch your attention.
It works.
Yeah,
It
thank
works.
you very much.
So, you talk about art as a process and the passion. Now, you also homeschool. You're a homeschooling family?
Yes, proud to say so. Yes.
And you're a homesteading family?
Yeah, in a way, urban homesteading. Yeah, we raise our own food. We hunt our own food. Not in urban setting. We have hunting property outside the city.
So, how much does that side of things play into what you do and from an art and a light and a natural theater?
It's
Or
interesting.
is there a connect?
Yeah, there is, but it's not something anyone would see. When you see what we do professionally in art and design, you would never think that we're raising rabbits for our meat. You wouldn't think that we were hunting. And when I say hunting, we cultivate the land, to produce a quality deer.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't, once we harvest that deer, we don't send it away. We do all the butchering. We do all the dry aging. I hunt like a chef because I'm a chef at home. I cook, I'm a father. And I want to make sure that they have not only a connection with their food, but, I know where the food came from. I know that the food's real. I know that the meat's been handled with care and respect, which it should be. And I also know that that animal was raised ethically.
Mm-hmm.
It lived a life. And it's what makes us work on our marksmanship. And I don't shoot for fun. I shoot as a discipline because I know when it comes time to end that life, to continue ours, it should be done in the most respectful way possible. So everything I do, I'm pretty serious about. Anything worth doing isn't easy.
Well, that's true.
Exactly.
And we were talking about the other day, it struck me that there was this correlation of when you know where something comes from, it means more.
Oh, without a doubt. And to
And
know that you had hands involvement, you were involved with that, it makes me feel alive. I'm so far from any kind of depression because I'm a human and I'm living like one. I have a community I belong to. I'm every day, as you know, we're raising our children, educating our children. What could be more fulfilling than that?
And so, what advice would you give to new artists and not even artists, but the next generation coming up to find that level of, because you seem pretty peaceful, I'm not gonna lie, you seem like
Yes.
zen, you seem kind of zen.
Don't be comfortable. That's the best advice. Confucius said that. Don't be comfortable. I've never been comfortable doing anything I'm doing. Whether it's a project, like a design project, someone comes with an idea and they need my assistance to push that idea into a product all the way through the levels. I've been referring to one of the patent attorneys I work with, and there's that. And then none of that's easy. You know, I am at my most, how should I say, I am at my most human when I am extremely uncomfortable doing what it is I'm doing, because I know at that point not am I living the most, but I'm learning the most. Learning is life.
Absolutely.
Life is art. You know, and once you disconnect yourself from that, your ship has no movement. You don't have any wind in the sails. You know, it's not easy. A ship at full tilt, right, with full sails, you know how much stress is on that boat? But man, it's moving. And you gotta have that. I think that's an issue with a lot of people. A lot of people, sometimes they're scared of the failure part. But I was taught at an early age by a father figure that failure is the key to success. Like the more you fail, the more life experience you get. The more you fail, the more grit, the more bark, the more ready you are to do something. The more willing you are to say yes. I'll do it. I'll do it. Let's see. I've never done that. Or there's a saying that before you accept a project, a freelance project, you should know 80%. And you can figure out the 20 on the way. You can come. I've been the opposite. I knew 20%.
I figured out the rest.
I was like, wow, man, the stress level. But you know, the more stress, as long as you succeed in just making your promise, because that's all business is. All business is promises made and promises kept. If you keep your promise, maybe you overpromise, but if you cross that line, then you're a different person. You're a person now with this 80%. You understand that much more. It's like hyperspeed learning. There's nothing like learning forced. And maybe like many other people, like when you're under the pressure, like the creative, everything opens up.
Something you got.
Yeah, you got to do it.
So how did that? I want to point out this because you kind of showed. Can you show us the process that you went through for this?
Oh, this part right here.
Because, and we're going to flash to a picture here in just a second of this finished piece, which is just spectacular. This chandelier you made. But what's really innovative and interesting about it wasn't, well, okay, it was the whole finished work, but was this coupling.
Well, it's where the engineering meets the art. This glass was blown by one of the best glass blowers that I could find and personally know as a friend, Tom Lilly. Tom Lilly blew this glass. We worked very closely together. And really it's an example of what my work stands for. Like when it comes to my custom commissioned work, and if you look at my website, it says commissioned work. The commissioned work is something that represents promises made and promises kept. I work with sometimes up to 12 artists, 12 professional people who, like for instance, Tom Lilly blew this glass. He's like the best at this. And you know, when it comes down to, it's all about the form. You know, I have to achieve this form, and these ladies and gentlemen are there ready to help assist me to achieve this. And once it's done, it's better than anybody could have done on their own. And then that's what makes the work special.
Makes it better than
that's what makes the work special. It's kind of like a conductor or a composer of classical music. You know, the best ones can play all the instruments. Mm-hmm. So they know not to ask too much, or probably most importantly, not to ask too little of the ensemble, you know.
Right.
So yeah, the coupling on this is, there's a few generations of prototype going on here. But simply put, it was how do we suspend this blown glass into a sculpture the way it needs to be held? And I came up with several different ways, and this was our second generation that I'm going to open up.
So there were several failures before you reached.
Oh yeah, and you know you got to burn through them quick. It's like playing Texas Hold'em. It's like, let's burn through these hands. Let me find a good one. You know, so that's the prototyping phase. You know, you just got to get through it. You got to figure it out. You got to get the sketchbook out. You got to hash it, and just, you know, you just got to say to yourself, like, you just got to play the numbers. And you just got to hit it with everything you got, and eventually you get there. So with a carbon paddle, a carbon tool, these are all put in a lathe, and we put this neck in. And although each piece of glass is very unique in its own, one thing they all have the same is this diameter of the neck. So it holds this rubber mil-spec grommet. So you got to think. I mean, these things are designed for a lifetime plus. So they've got to hold each other with an even tension for a long time. And then I have this little clip. This is all cut by water. I just draw them out on tracing paper and move them around in a profile kind of way. But eventually you come up with something you can put together, and then that was the second generation. So these go around the rubber grommet. Just like that. And then it latches closed. And then once this metal is powder coated black with a black grommet, my latest piece is 60 of these. And it's doing quite well. The installation went really smooth. And it went with a third generation, which is an independent gate, meaning the gate is not fixed. So once the glass goes into this rubber grommet, it gives us now time to maneuver all the glass into the perfect situation. And then once it's there, this gate slides in, clips, and locks. So the innovation is led by necessity. You know, every time you get done with one piece, you're thinking about either the stress of the last one or how can we make this better? And there's always room for innovation.
Well, and you use so many new tools. I mean, the water cutting and the 3D printer. How much has the speed of technology influenced what you do?
Oh, it's amazing. The speed of technology by itself. I've heard some say, well, this work's not art, it's design. And they confuse, the latest in computer numeric control, CNC technology. If Michelangelo had CNC technology, who knows what he would have made?
Right.
He would have been using the water jet. He would have been using a 3-axis and 5-axis mill. So we live in a time where technology puts so much within our reach. I look what cell phones have done. I tell my children all the time, my son's 9 years old, and my daughter's 7. And I always have to remind them occasionally that, I didn't have cell phones then.
Right.
We had a payphone. Papa, what's a payphone? It's like you got to put a quarter in at the top. They just can't see. But now,
Thought of being able to just ask a question and get whatever you want to know.
well, not only that, but anybody can broadcast.
Okay.
Literally,
Case of
exactly,
point.
right here. Anyone can broadcast, edit, fire it off social media. It's amazing. It's amazing. So that runs congruent also with technology as far as cutting goes. There was a time when I spent all my money on tools: radial arm saws, table saws, drill press, and had a whole garage full of tools, and I would make things and make things and make things. And it wasn't until I saw a friend. I started working at this water jet company. I came to visit them, and I just saw this stream of water cutting metal and plastic. I said, I gotta know what's going on here. I don't even want to use my tools anymore,
You just want
because there's no way I could reach that level of accuracy and efficiency with what I'm doing here. I sold it all.
What's more of your focus on planning and design and creating?
Exactly. I mean, your passion keeps you in the groove. You'll just keep running into the next vine. And that was the next swing I took, was going right into computer-aided drafting. Basically, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, all these computer-aided drafting programs, I like to call them language programs, because you're developing a plan, a language for this machine, right? I mean, there's always proprietary software in between. A lot of water jets use a program called FlowPath. So I'll take my AutoCAD drawing, which will be a DWG format. I'll slide it over to their proprietary software, and it'll put in your lead point. You have your speeds and feeds, and where you're gonna come in and come out of the cut. You can adjust your speed. There's a lot of presets, but boom, then you're talking to the machine. The machine's doing exactly what you needed to do. It's amazing. And you could do this anywhere. All I need is a sketchbook and a laptop, and that's all I need. I can go to any city. I can pick up a phone. I can pick up my iPhone. I can go to Yelp. I can hit WaterJet. I can find a WaterJet. I can call them. What's your lead time? What's your hourly rate? What's your setup? All right, here's my file. And then done. I pick up my parts. It's like big boy toys, Legos coming to me.
Well, and it's so, You know, I just did a workshop about how to get more done in your day, maximizing effectiveness, where we talked about the wastes and how to eliminate waste in life. And one of the things I talked about was outsourcing. Was understanding that outsourcing does not mean you're doing less. It means using the resources that the world gives you to do, so that you can do what you do.
Leverage it. Companies fail. I've worked with companies that I just saw in my mind. I'm like, man, there's technology out there that you guys are not leveraging. I just don't know how you're going to make it in this crazy, fierce, fast world. And whoop, they don't. Companies today, they have to understand what kind of technology is servicing. Because if they're not using it, their competitors are. It's amazing. That's what leads to, which I think is probably the largest. As far as like children, what are they going to do when they grow up? Where are the real jobs? Are they going to go in IT? Really? Are they going to go into graphic design? Like, where is the growth? Companies are looking for those individuals that are not only able to design, but could actually make it too. Individuals who could leverage that technology, the one-man band. I can come up with your solution. Here's your prototype. I did that all myself. Oh my gosh. That's what they're looking for, because now's the time. This wasn't even feasible 15 years ago. CNC technology was not even in production in even the aviation industry until about that time. And that's where my system aims, aircraft interior modular system. That's never been done before. But it couldn't be done without that technology. So I know that it can't be divorced.
So you have to wait until.
Well, see, the industry. I know we're going all over the place, but
that's what these do.
Yeah,
that's why it's interesting.
The aviation industry has done a very good job of implementing these new technologies in cutting, because it's cutting the material that they've always cut for what's called a conventional method aircraft interiors. They're just cutting the same thing. Nothing's changed except for the speed and efficiency of what it is they're doing. So in a sense, the implementation of this technology has really put horse blinders, generally speaking, on the industry. They've never thought, well, what else can we do? And that's what I showed to Duncan Aviation. That's what I'm demonstrating with our technology. Look what else you could do. And it feels so right, because you can't even do this with conventional tooling. Right? So.
And that's something that, I think that's something that homeschool does so well, is to portray that go innovate, see what you can do.
Well, what homeschool does so well is, before anything, let's just talk about art. The avant-garde, which is a term for the troops in the front of the army charging in, the avant-garde. The avant-garde are the artists who are actually pushing forward and making these new ways of seeing art. In the beginning, it's not adopted as art. Eventually it is, right? Eventually it turns
kind of like this. This wasn't art until it was no longer.
Exactly. So the avant. But how can a school ever teach that? A school can never do that. A school can never do that, because for the avant to actually become formalized, to be taught, it has to go through the process of being organized, understood, debated, talked about, structured, and then by the time it comes into a book that's already 4 or 5 years old, it's already decadent. So now we're in the quickening. That's where homeschool. Now we're seeing the value, because there is so much emerging technologies that can be leveraged by these young minds. Why are they sitting in school 6-7 hours a day? Pull them out. Your average homeschooler does what a normal child in a public school setting does. An average homeschooler can get that done in 2 hours. And they're sitting in school 6-7 hours. That's crazy. And it's taking a lot of the passion out at the same time. And then, no disrespect to the teachers, they got a lot to do. You got one teacher there handling 20 plus children, sometimes 30. Sorry. That's why, I just say, me and my wife we're head over heels with homeschool. And being able to cater to what our children are wanting to learn. And easily facilitate that.
In addition to the gallery space, in the back here is this whole dojo area? What is this?
Yes. Work hard, play hard. The training, bless you. The training's always given me a balance, is what it's done. So mentally, it's important to be also physically uncomfortable. And that's what the martial arts does. So the past 20 years, I've trained in Aki-Bujutsu, and I'm an instructor today. I'm head of the children's program in our Smyrna location at the Atlanta Budokan. I teach my children. I have clients I teach one-on-one, and it's a passion again.
Is hanging on the wall here are years of sketchbooks. Are years. So tell me, what is this and why is it here?
I've always organized my thoughts. It started in the year 2000 in December with a little blue one, and it worked its way around. And these are just my sketchbooks. When you look inside them, I wouldn't consider anything fancy. It's not like an artist sketchbook with sketches and drawings, but it's very important for anyone really, to just make sense of what it is they're thinking. Like, that's what art and design is about, is you're taking something intangible and bringing it into the tangible world. And the best way to make that bridge easy is just put it on paper, push it around. Even still to this day, I still use my sketchbooks. Even with all the technology, the tablets, the phones, the computers, it starts in the sketchbook because I could bring it with me. And I make sense of it. And once it makes sense, I'm like, you know what? Where's my notebook? And then I started rocking it. I get in CAD and started pushing lines, but it always starts in the sketchbook. So every sketchbook that I have has a day that it started and the time it started, and a day that it closed, and a day, the time it closed. So what you have here is basically 18 years of just a thought continuum.
Always looking forward to the next idea and the next project.
I mean, there's projects in these books that probably never even were born. But actually, when I look back with who I am now, I'm glad I didn't have the money at the time to produce some of this, because it wouldn't have worked anyways. It would have been a failure. This book's probably, there's a lot of failures in here, but a lot of triumph too, so there's a balance there.
When one thing you talked about yesterday, which really struck me, is the idea, so up here, when we go out, we would get a shot of the chandelier, and this is the skeleton?
Yeah, I call them skeletons. Whenever I'm making something for commissioned work, it's very important that budget is met, deadline is met. So when I'm cutting metal and finishing, I just make 2 of everything. So what we have here is a skeleton made out of 6061 aluminum, which is an aircraft grade aluminum. And this is what holds the glasswork and the light and conducts the electricity.
So, and I think that's such an important concept to understand, is especially when you're doing projects which have hard deadlines, to make more than you think you're going to need.
Yeah, well, the deadline is more than what it is on paper. It's when you look at it, the promises made and the promises kept. It only takes you not to meet your deadline at one time, and then my food doesn't taste good anymore.
Right.
It's like, I can't live like that. So that's the incentive. It's what makes you do what you do.
And art and being an artist does not absolve you of that.
No, it doesn't.
You still have to.
It doesn't.
Even in creative work, you still have to have that business side.
Well, in the creative work, it's even that much more important, because they're not after your service, they're after your intellect. And wow, that has to be honored and respected in the utmost of respectful, mutual relationship. The deadline it's got to be done before that, You're going to go to a meeting, you got to be there early, It's like, so I'll show you, I have time to show you an ambassador.
Okay.
So I'm fortunate enough to have 2 of these on loan right now, because I'm getting ready for a show this fall. This is number 1 of 6, which we own. This one belongs to a client, this one belongs to a client. I made 6 of these in 2008, and I wanted to have a little bit of a family reunion when it came to the work. So these clients, they're moving, they need the work stored before.
That's your story.
Yes, well, You don't want these just stored anywhere.
Right.
But so when you look at this work, it is a vision. It is an emotional expression of mine, and that's what makes it art. It's an emotional expression. I saw this. I had a visceral response to what I was visualizing, and I said, I gotta make it. And I did. Exactly like it. It's like the 2,000th of an inch, right? So the tolerances are very specific on this piece. After selling a few pieces in France, I had to radically redesign things because when you get there for the install, the last thing you want to do is sweat 8 hours in front of your client. That's awful.
True.
What your client needs to see is, boom, you open that crate and stick it up there and you walk out and you're like, wow, halluciné, Kristofer.
And that's where some of the design had to come in.
Exactly. That's where the design comes in, right? So this is designed to be kind of like an intuitive kind of method, where the center, most forward part comes out first. Then these bands. Again, this is all mirror polished, aircraft aluminum with a bright dip anodized.
Was this all cut by the water?
This is all cut by a water jet. A stream of water cut through all this material.
It's amazing how something so simple can...
And all of this came out of flat sheets. All of these acrylic rods came out of cast rods, which I CNC lathed. Which some people say, man, these things are so freaking expensive. Why? It's like, well, it's just not the art markup. It's the fact that if this metal would have been coated in an automotive finish or a powder coating, it's so thick. And the issue with a thick coating is that these pegs are force fit in. These pegs are all press fit in. Now, if that coating was too thick, and the thing is that with the powder coating or an automotive finish, some places it's thicker, some places it's thinner. And the issue with that is now 1 out of every 20 pegs might be too tight and crack or might be loose. I've got 488 pegs times 6, that'd be a huge issue.
Right.
I need a finish that will be able to work with my tolerances and my fits. And anodized is only not even 2,000ths of an inch thick. It's thinner than a human hair. So, now that
But
it's
if one of those cracks, they're going to notice.
yeah, exactly, of course. And you got to pull it, and then it's a nightmare job. You can't have that. It's got to be 0 defect. So that's what I was able to achieve with the Ambassador. So, and that's why it had to be mirror polished, because the anodized is so thin that if there was the faintest scratch, you would see it. So the metal had to be flawless before finish, because you're actually looking at the metal, the grain of the metal with this. So everything just slips apart, and the installation is just this in reverse.
So these were all shipped to France?
3 of them. That's why I call
And
them.
were they shipped in individual pieces, like this piece was shipped
They all
on-
had one big crate. And the cool thing about the crate is the crate packs flat and it just goes into a crawl space. If you need to move the piece again, you can use that same crate. But now you're kind of looking at the inside of the Ambassador. And it keeps going. Once I turn this off, I can splay this metal. There's my transformer. Metal on one side, plastic on the other. And this is me in 2008. I'm a different designer.
But this is where engineering meets art.
Yeah, this is me as engineering this work. What, 2000?
10 years ago.
A decade ago. What I do now is totally different. But then it still happens. It keeps going. Pop. So here's the skeleton. This is what I designed to hold everything on.
So all of that comes down to this little piece right here.
Yeah, and if you look closely, you can see what the water jet was doing. The water jet, I designed everything to just slip and fit in. So when those rods go in like this, right? Nothing can come apart just by assembling it. Everything is there, right?
So
And then all you have is this back piece. That's all I have
this
to
is
install.
all that screws to the wall, is this.
This is all I have to install, and it's got a built-in level too. I have a wine cork with a little line and a fishing weight. So you just hang it up until the line is touching the floor. Boop. Get the level, put the screws, and then everything goes back on. Just in the reverse order.
That's amazing.
It goes on.
What would you tell somebody? What would you tell somebody as advice on how to get to this place? I mean, this is, if you were 14, 15 years old as a student,
Yeah.
what do you study? Do you study?
You know, that's a good question. What do you study as a student? Well, first of all, you have to ask yourself, is this the kind of place you want to go to? You're just in the world, it's like all the places you may go, the places you will go. Where are you going to go? I've just always had a tendency to make things and build things. I've never done well in a structured. I have to know I have to go. You know, I have to go find somebody who can show me. I'll go find somebody, I'll hunt someone down and ask questions, and it's always the hunt, it's always the movement. And I would just say, you know, whatever it is you want to do, like, start now. Don't wait. You know, especially with the technology we have at our fingertips.
Yeah.
A 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, they can do this. You just got to push it. You just got to make it happen. And now it's just, you know, the thing is when youth comes to people, like I'm thinking of the machine shops that I work with. They're all good guys. They're all good gals. They're all just good people. And their job is to make things for you. They see a 13, 14, 15-year-old person coming with an AutoCAD file. They're going to treat them probably with almost more respect than their average clients, because it's like, here we go. Here we go. We got somebody in here who actually wants to do something, and it's very impressive. So you know what? I would tell anybody who's learning, who's young, who's in their like teenage years, or now's the time to do it, because you're going to get the attention from the adults. You know, you will, as long as you're respectful. You know, it all starts with respect. But if you're respectful and you have a passion, adults in the positions that can help you, oftentimes they do. And that's how I actually got by.
Don't be afraid to ask for it.
Don't be afraid to ask. Exactly. And if you really care about it, you won't be afraid. You're like, look, I need help. I know a lot about plastics now. But I remember there's a guy named Keith who worked at GE's plastic. He worked behind the desk. I would just go up there and ask questions all the time. One thing would lead to another. He'd show me this and that and show me the difference, and I was just amazed. So naturally, he wanted to teach more. Typically, people like to. If you have knowledge, typically you like to share it. And if you see youth, usually you give. You know?
That's the best person, the best group to share it to.
Definitely.
This was, let's look at this real quick. Pan around to that.
Okay, here's a little prototype. This is the A1 prototype.
This is what we were talking about that goes into the airplanes, where this was not an art piece.
Yeah, it's just a concept. But we have fun with it. The A1 concept is what I took up to Lincoln, Nebraska to show all the engineers in my big meeting. So it demonstrates that, you know, it doesn't have to be panel pins. That's what the industry uses, a panel pin. It's a hollow tube, and they drill it in the edges. It's like a kitchen cabinet. Modern day, conventional aviation, the cabinetry is like kitchen cabinets with honeycomb, aluminum, exotic materials, so on and so forth, but it's still constructed pretty much in the same principle. Whereas this is a totally different principle. It's a layered construction.
This is thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box. We got our second prototype to pass, the 18G4 load case and finite element, so it's kind of a big deal. But you know, we have a mock-up coffee machine. We're playing around with different ways you get hold of glass. You know, it has its drawers, but at the same time, the gold is representing the airframe. So if your coffee machine didn't work in your fractional reserve carrier in your private jet, then you would just unlock the bulkhead, twist this out, then you go get this unit, change it out, and then boom, No downtime. Just fly this baby.
That's all.
You know, tight, coffee machine works, all the systems go, put on the bulkhead, and ready to go. So it's good for rapid prototyping. It's good for, you know, if you had a fleet of jets, if it was a one-off, fine. But if you had 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, 50 jets,
You don't have time for downtime.
this is the way to go. Well, yeah, you don't want to have time for downtime. Nobody wants downtime. You know, but I mean, to be able to say, you know what, we have an issue with your jet, or we have an upgrade, don't even have to bring it or fly it into a service center. We're going to have technicians fly out to those locations, slap that in with minimal tooling very quickly, and you're going to be on your way.
Right.
Never been done before. And again, what's the technology being used for today? You know, so
That's true.
new ways of thinking. Here, let's move over here. I'll show you this real quick. This is the best angle. This is the intended angle to see this from. So you stand right here and look at that.
Isn't that something? So this was those little glass pieces. This was those little glass pieces where he was
Yes.
showing you over here.
The blown porcelain glass.
This is what it made.
Yeah, so push it real tight. Just go walk in there. There you go. So you can get inside.
All those little connectors. All
And
those
if you
little
look here,
connectors.
this bulb, there's no wires in the piece. The bulb is just held by a tension, by the arm that I bend. And then the powder coat is kind of my insulator for the 12 volt current. So once it goes in, the arm holds it in, the circuit's complete. So, and again, this is much older. This is 2000, this is probably 12, 13 years. So this again doesn't represent my skill set today. But if you go to the Beshrad Gallery downtown Atlanta, you'll see my latest glass installation. And I'm very proud of that one. That
So
was-
what's your website? Where can people find you?
my website is
let's move back
just
over.
my name. My name is Kristofer Lamey. So you can find it, and it's a unique spelling. So Kristoferlamey. Kristofer Lamey. The best thing to do is just type Kristofer Lamey in Google, and it'll correct it.
Oh, but the pictures will show up.
Yeah, then you can just see what else I've been involved with. It's a really good way to get in touch with me.
Well, definitely you should go out, check out the website. I mean, I've been to it. It's just phenomenal what's on there and the things that you've done.
Well, thank you.
Really, this is really interesting.
Well,
I mean, it's
thank you very much.
fascinating. So thank you so much
It's
for
been a pleasure.
meeting with us. And until next time, we'll see you later. Hi, I'm Brandy from Exploring Expressions. You just finished hearing about and from somebody interesting. I hope you enjoyed learning about them as much as I did. I just want to take a minute to let you know that I am always on the hunt, exploring new opportunities to learn, teach, grow, and share, and looking for people with interesting jobs, interesting hobbies, interesting histories, or interesting ideas. If that's you, or if you know someone that's interesting, drop a comment below or send me a message because I want to talk to them. And as always, if you like this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe and follow me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Let me know you're out there. We'll see you later.